open touchdown. And he will score.
Field on the near side, man open, touchdown.
Will Waddle has got it on the run, and he's gone. Jalen Waddle, touchdown.
Tua Tagovailoa.
Picked off. Flying Xavier Howard.
Tagovailoa trying to pick up for it. Fire to the end zone. Touchdown!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the finish line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. BallGame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another episode of the Finish Line. We welcome you to it. As always, I'm joined by the legendary, should be in the Hall of Fame. Merchandise is on the way to support it. Richmond Webb and the Triple OG, Mr. Keeping It 100, Mr. Keeping It a Buck and looking fresh in the shades. Mr. BallGame, what's good, gentlemen?
Hey, what's going on, gentlemen? Always a pleasure to be on the show with you guys. We had the primetime Thursday night game last week, so we didn't record. But I'm doing good. Played 4 games so far, and to be 3-1, I think we're in pretty good shape. And just get a few people back, and I think we're gonna continue on this journey. But I feel good, other than my Aggies, but we're not going to talk about that. That's a whole nother subject. But,
yeah, we're talking about good football today, brother.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Some of those lost too, bro, so I feel you.
Yeah, we're talking about good football, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, we're going to leave that alone. But anyway, other than that, I'm good. Dolphins good. It's always a pleasure to be on the show with you guys and talk football and interact with the fans. And I'm just on Twitter and getting great response. So I'm enjoying this new the way we do it now live on YouTube and stuff. I think hopefully the fans are enjoying it as well. But I feel good. So how you doing, Mr. BallGame?
Great, man. Survived the hurricane. Last week we missed out on giving people our information and feedback about the game, but we're gonna get into that tonight as well as a couple other topics. But it's always good to be here with you guys.
Yeah, you didn't have power, right? Like it was also because of the short week, but you didn't have power, did you?
Listen.
Okay. Oh yeah, you're in the new fort. My bad.
Sir.
Fort BallGame.
The Taylor Castle, baby. We didn't have any.
Bro, don't be using. Hey, bro. You see how these YouTube streets are? Don't all be out here using your government name, bro.
Yeah.
People might start saying some guy with last name Taylor. Some guy with the last name Taylor was out here going after people's sponsors. Like we got time for that kind of nonsense, bro.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Definitely not. Definitely not a part of my repertoire. But you know what?
Not any of our repertoire. But apparently,
let them come for me. Be the worst mistake ever. So.
Especially if they catch you especially if you catch them slipping at Home Depot.
Yeah.
Oh, you kill me, bro. You absolutely kill me. Oh man. So I mean, yeah, people didn't really get to hear our take on the Bills stuff. So we'll quickly roll over that. And I mean, it's even more relevant now with what we're eventually going to talk to after we do talk about the Bengals game. All right, let's first hit up this Bills game. All right, so Tua, whether right or wrong, all right, the NFLPA has since fired the neurologist, the independent neurologist, but whether right or wrong, he returned to that game, made a massive throw to Waddle that, right? Just
Game
just
changer.
absolute money in the bank. Yeah, technically that led to the winning drive, right?
Yeah.
And our defense held their damn own, bend not break, especially, 93 offensive snaps for Josh Allen and the Bills, and
Insane.
you only put up 19 points, and you put up less yards and touchdowns than Tua did against the Ravens. Let's just throw that in there for a little bit of a little, Anyways, so the Dolphins end up winning that game 21-19. Tua was 13 of 18 for 186 and a touchdown. Josh Allen, 400 yards, 42 of 63 for 2 touchdowns. We won't go too crazy into it. Just your guys' thoughts on the game itself, and let's stick to the day of. Let's not talk about the hindsight of how things have turned out. The original hit that has set everything off from Milano. So give me your guys' things on the push from Milano that led to Tua slamming and the game itself. BallGame, we'll start with you.
I think the biggest thing, man, when I look back over what transpired in that game is the fact that this team did something I didn't think they were going to do, which was they fought, and they fought for each other. So when Tua got knocked out, of the game and went back to do the protocols and whatnot, normally before there would be this, oh God, here we go, same old Dolphin type of energy. But that I didn't sense any of that. Even in the house here when my sons and I were watching it, we just like, okay, he'll be fine, he'll be back. Teddy can hold us down until they get back. You know what I mean? And that was a sense, and that was the thought process. And I kept saying, well, shit, Mike got something for him. All we gotta do is just keep it close. If Tua does come back, we'll be fine. Because the defense pretty much, I take my hat off to them, man. 93 snaps, bro, in 100-degree weather. Like, I think they're feeling the effects of that now. But overall, bro, you got to stand in there round for round, blow for blow with a team like that to establish to them as well as to yourself that we can do this. And I think that's what came out of that game more than anything is the fact that you're not looking around. They're not looking over their shoulder anymore for the boogeyman. They stood toe-to-toe with the boogeyman. Boogeyman punched him in the mouth. They punched him back in the mouth, kicked him in the balls. He bent over. They gave him an uppercut. Then
and you were right.
Stomping.
Yeah. You were right, because you implied it all started with the Ravens, and then the Bills were just the next one, it was just the next one to conquer.
You gotta cross them off your list, bro.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, man, those are the type games that are going to define the grit and the integrity of this team. You know what I mean? When it's all said and done, they're not pushovers. They don't just look good in the aqua and white. You know what I mean? They actually willing to go out there and thug it out for 4 quarters and extreme, because I don't think people understand truly what it feels like to be out there having your body down there ready to betray you in that type of heat. Playing 100-degree and that humidity, everything's shutting down. I can remember hearing a sound bite of what that boy name is, Diggs saying my body was betraying me. Felt like I was about to die. I thought it was over. You know what I mean? These guys are at the height of their careers, top of their positions, and never experienced anything like that. So for our guys to be able to go out there, push through the same measure of things, and then pull out a win against the boogeyman in our division, who is no longer the boogeyman, in my opinion. Kudos to him, bro. I'm extremely proud of him. So,
Richmond.
Yeah. I'm going to kind of echo some of the same sentiments that BallGame was. And, we've talked before, and Buffalo, before the season even start, we know that's the team you got to go through. And knew it would be, even though we were playing at home, I knew that would be a tough game to win. But like you said, like BallGame said, they competed. I think it did something for us, but I think it also did something for Buffalo to say, hey, they're not our little brother anymore. If we win this game, we got to win it. And so to see that, even if we would have lost that game, it was good to see, because it's not the same thing that you've been seeing in the past. To let them know, hey, if we make a mistake, this game can go either way. And it's almost like it almost shows with the additions that we did in the offseason and stuff like that. And also with Coach McDaniel, that is, I'm not saying we even, but we ain't, you know what I'm saying? If it's a 100-yard dash and you run it 10 times, you ain't guaranteed to
win them all.
You ain't guaranteed to win them all. So, and I think that's what it is. And now, if we continue to play like this, you start getting mentioned with Buffalo, the Kansas City Chiefs, this and that, the favorites, this and that. You're going to see a lot more people jump on the bandwagon. We just got to get healthy, and continue this thing. I think we're in good hands right now. But like BallGame said, even when Tua went down, you don't see that energy on the sideline. You don't see it from the coach, Coach McDaniels, and it just – I think it just starts at the top and heads down, and nobody looked like, oh man, we was out of this game.
I did see it from Tyreek when Bridgewater almost got picked on that screen in the Bills game. No, Tyreek was like, what is this nonsense? Like, and I got to say this. I don't know what y'all thought about it, but Buffalo Bills fans, Bills Mafia out here doing their best Milli Vanilli impression, but instead of blaming it on the rain, they're blaming it on the sun. You got 93 snaps. I don't want to hear nothing about the sun, bro. All right?
They had a run game.
63 is the average. All right? Like
93 is a lot for an offensive unit. So, I mean.
Bro, 63 is like the league average right now. Like, like 60 to 65 is the league average. This guy's out here 93. Are we really having this conversation? Come on now.
That's like a game and a half. So.
And it's still outplayed, y'all.
And it's still what you got to look at, like BallGame said. I think defensively, it's harder to play 93 plays.
For sure.
Yeah, just the way it is. So,
but that defense, when that Dolphins offense hits the field, that defense gets to go sit in that shade, baby.
They get to go put their feet up for a little bit.
And we're sitting here acting like you really think the Bills don't have fans and those mist units and oxygen tanks. Like, let's stop now.
They brought like 7 of those things with them. Each over there, I looked them up. They're like $1,800 for the cool seats. It has the mist that comes over the back of it. They had all of that. They brought all of that with them. So I don't care about it. I don't want to hear that crap.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that.
The fact of the matter is,
I do want to give thanks and say our prayers to Ra, the Egyptian sun god. Thank you very much. Anyways, continue.
I think another piece that needs to be said is that this team now, after coming off of a victory like that and doing what they did, and with the elements and it just being Buffalo, this now makes it that much more important for them to stick to the agenda, which is win the games you're capable of winning, regardless of what it looks like. If it's 1 point, if it's 25 points, it doesn't matter. Just win the games you're supposed to win. If we are and we stack up better than this team, we should beat this team. Go win the game. Just like this weekend. We're a better team than the Jets, which we'll get to.
Go win the game. Yeah,
go win the game.
So the Bengals game. So 4 days later, they had the quick turnaround, and Tua obviously returned to that game after the Milano hit or whatever push, and returned to that game. You watch the film. Got to stop playing hero ball. Got to throw the ball away, or take your little check down. And same thing we saw with the hip at Alabama. Tua basically creates the pressure on himself. And, these are 300-plus pound men that move at 20 miles per hour. Like, let's relax here, get rid of the football. Anyways, he's now hurt. He's out. Bridgewater in that second half, between the play calling, the design, and basically the Bengals' basic just inefficiency on offense. We had plenty of opportunities to take this game by the reins, but a lot of lack of execution on key third downs. Again, it's a game plan and an install made for Tua Tagovailoa. You're running stuff that's necessarily out of the same playbook that Teddy isn't comfortable with, but still, this guy's been in the league for long enough. You got to execute on key downs, and he just didn't at times. Now, he did have some nice throws. He did make some good throws and some good plays with his legs, amazingly, right? And like that Sherfield play was a great play, to get that first down near the goal line. when Sherfield pivoted back towards him and stuff. That was a great play. Obviously, we all didn't think he had that arm in him, that throw he made to Tyreek, but he bombed it. I feel like he didn't feature Waddle enough, but other than that, and lack of execution, I think, with 10 days to install against the Jets, I'm not as worried. But the Dolphins lose prime time 27-15. Score is obviously much worse than the actual game really was. They added on, bad interception from Bridgewater and a miscommunication with Gesicki led to that. And it was just, it was over. Your guys' thoughts on the loss to the Bengals and that hit on Tua, because I originally thought it was his back because of what they had told us the week before. And then obviously as time continued on during the game, it was evident within 30 seconds of a couple minutes that it was his head, not his back. What are you guys' thoughts on the Bengals game and obviously what happened with Tua? Because what's crazy to me, guys, and I'm not trying to be shallow, but we're talking football here. We would have won that game with Tua, and I think we would have won the game handily. I really, truly, they would have given Tua all those chances in the second half at their level. Tua is playing right now. Because BallGame, we broke down the film. Richmond, I sent you the film so we can talk about a certain player later.
Cooking, bro.
Tua was cooking even with that interception, bro. He was making some throws that were just like high level. Your guys' thoughts on the Bengals game and obviously the big thing, the Tua thing. And we'll start with you, BallGame. Sorry, we'll start with you, Richmond, because everyone's kind of heard in BallGame on it. No one's heard you on it yet.
Right.
Well, it definitely was unfortunate. I think the thing that everybody's got to remember is not about being right. It's about the information that was provided to everyone. And if the information would have been correct against Buffalo, he wouldn't have been in there, Thursday night in Cincinnati. But, I think a lot of people took this as an opportunity to, speculate this and that and that. And what we did was went with the information that was given. It was a back and an ankle, and that's why he went back in the game. If they told him it was a concussion, he wouldn't. I don't see them doing that because it's too much behind it. But like you said, this was a do or die to me. I just felt the way that Cincinnati was playing. It was a primetime game. They just went to the Super Bowl, and they definitely didn't want to go be 500 at this point. So they were putting together their best effort. But at the same time, like you said, Tua had gotten a rhythm, and he was really starting to hit some throws. And I think that second half, he would have probably dismantled them and went ahead, and we would have walked away and been 4-0 at this point. But like I said, the main thing is we just want him to be okay and get the treatment and stuff he needs. But with Teddy, coming in a lot of time and back up, and you take the mental reps in practice. But like you said, the offense was designed for Tua. I'm sure this week they'll have more plays that probably favor the way Teddy plays and stuff like that. So I think he'll be fine against the Jets. It's just, he'll have that, 10 days, but he'll have a full week of preparation, this and that, and also backup quarterback. He'll be getting some reps, but Teddy will get the majority of them because I think that's who we're going with. But I think we'll be fine. To me, this is a rivalry game. You don't have to get up for the Jets. We don't like them and they don't like us. We just got to go take care of business.
Let's stick with this Tua thing because I want to ask you this before we get BallGame's thoughts on this. Because I remember you telling me and BallGame a story about how you played through that arm injury and then you realized you couldn't go or whatever, and you're just not going to push it the next game or whatever it was. And okay, there was a lot of talk and discussion about this. And, this is where I call people idiots who kind of argued these neurologists, not the independent neurologists hired by the NFLPA. The discussion was only a couple hours after, about 4 or 5 hours after the fact. A level 1 trauma center in Cincinnati okayed him to go on a plane. Now, I get the optics of the fingers and everything is bad news, and that's what everyone's locked in on. I can't get it out of my head. It's a terrible scene. And, just from you being in and around NFL circles, and I'm sure back in the 90s, early 2000s, it was much looser than it is in 2022, bro, in terms of protocols and such. But do you really think, like, being an athlete, being a former professional football player who has battled through injury yourself, do you really think a level 1 trauma center would allow him to get on a plane only a few hours after if he didn't basically clear everything they threw at him in terms of MRI, CAT scan, whatever, in terms of their line of questioning and stuff? Because it would have had to have been extensive if you go to you've dealt with doctors, and that's the top of head people. So what are your whole thoughts on that situation? Did that kind of give you a little bit of a relief of maybe it did look a lot worse than than the impact it had on this kid in terms of potentially long term?
I think it definitely looked worse when you haven't seen anything or reaction like that from a concussion. Most of the time, whether it's boxing or whatever, you don't see a guy, get dazed and he's just kind of with his hands looking the way he was. That was just, and they focused on that, and then even after the game or whatever, people took that and ran with it. But we're not doctors, but that just seeing the visual of it, I think impacted people to where they thought it was a lot worse than it was. And I'm not saying it's not worse because I'm not a doctor.
Yeah,
but
none of us are.
To your point, like you said, for him to fly, 3 hours or 3.5 hours after sustaining a level 1 concussion, putting him on a plane. And I would also take in the fact that, you're on a plane, the atmosphere is, I'm sure that definitely doesn't help, because I know if your ears pop, so for them to release him, once they got him there and all his extremities came back, I'm sure they said, okay, he's good enough to travel. Because the last thing you want to do, like you said, is put him on there and then he starts having an episode or something. You have team doctors on there, but you don't want to be in a plane and something like that happen, just in case you don't have the equipment needed to treat him in the event. Yeah. So I agree with you there. The good thing is it's good, but that doesn't mean he can play against the Jets. It just means that, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, look at it. I know you follow Barry Jackson, Richmond. He's been telling everyone on Twitter, Tua keeps passing all these tests. They keep coming back negative. And they're telling you he's passing the protocols. So even if he was clearing the protocols, they're not playing him this week. Let's just and you shouldn't play him this week. And really, if you win this week, which you should win, and we'll get into that, I wouldn't bring him back to the Steelers game. Give the Vikings game off. We're 4-1. If we are 4-2 going into the Steelers, I'm okay with that because we're in this easy stretch of our schedule. Ball game. I know you've given your thoughts on it, but refresher, brother.
Yeah, man. I think for me, man, I look at the bigger picture at this point where we've been in this shift and transition from old school mentality about head injuries and things to the new school and the data and stuff that they collect and how they collect it with the new helmets and all that type of stuff. I don't think anyone is out here trying to put Tua Tagovailoa's career or his life in jeopardy. Yep. I think anybody out here spreading that type of narrative is a complete buffoon and just looking for clickbait, because at the end of the day, we're talking about a young man's life, his livelihood, and his ability to be the best version of himself later in life when he's put his cleats up. And I don't think the NFL is in any form and fashion looking to be out here having guys that they got to actually go through the whole process of paying for the rest of their lives that they don't have to. These guys are warriors, though, so you can always understand the competitive nature of the individual himself. But sometimes, and I do believe that Mike McDaniels and his staff and anybody associated with the Dolphins, they're going to do everything in their power to ensure that they save him from himself. He might say he'll fine just because that's the competitive spirit about him. But if they see anything, you know what I'm saying, they're going to err on the side of caution, and they're going to ensure that he is well taken care of. And it really upsets me that people, you know what I mean, they always shift to the negative sides of things and saying like the Dolphins set him up and all this type of stuff. I don't believe any of that. If they let him go from that trauma center, he checked all of the boxes off. I believe that he was good to fly and that was their best evaluation for him at that time. And I got to trust the doctors. I don't have a medical degree, but I know that anybody willing to sign off on his paperwork is risking their career and their livelihood on a mistake. And people are not going to just do that. No. Nobody's just going to sign off on some stuff just to say, oh, well, okay, this to get him home. No, they're not doing that. Yeah. So that.
Especially when it was an evening game, like on a Thursday. That's even more reason to keep him overnight.
Keep him overnight, yeah. If he was really that bad.
Yeah.
For me, this stretch, bro, was kind of crazy because I had us. I think based on my predictions, I had us 4-2 anyway coming out of the first 6. So it doesn't really matter for me.
So did I actually.
Yeah,
right? I had us losing
we
to
had
Baltimore and Minnesota. Yeah.
And I had us losing to Minnesota. I didn't have us losing to the Bengals. I thought the Bills was gonna get it. Well, I don't. I thought it was the Bills that was gonna get us, but we was gonna be 4-2 coming out of this. So as long as we stay there, for me, I'm okay. I don't have an issue with Teddy. Let him rest so Tua can come back and stick it to Flores. I'm good with that. And I think overall, we saw, unfortunately, the effects of that Bills game on this defense against the Bengals. They just wore down, bro. And but they were warriors, man. They never quit. That in itself is, for me as a coach, that's always at the forefront. I'm watching the film to see if anybody loafing. I'm watching the forefront to see if anybody's taking any plays off. None of that happened, and I'm okay with it. You know what I mean? They played and gave all that they could, and unfortunately, the knockout blow to Tua, what I'm saying, disrupted the offense, and the defense did all they could.
And what do we expect? The energy is obviously going to come out of the team, at least for a quarter. They might get it back near the end there, but what did we like? That's tough to ask to do, especially when, let's be clear, guys, this isn't 2 years ago or even last year. This is the most evident it's been that this is Tua Tagovailoa's team. That the whole locker room is bought in right now. And then they watch this kid go down. Come on, man. There's a lot of people, even on the defensive side of the football, i.e. Landon Roberts, Xavier Howard, who have gone to bat for this kid, and they're watching this kid turn this corner, and then that happens to them. You got to think about it. We aren't just talking about athletes. We're talking about people here too, right? So
there's still some great takeaways from all of this, though. Even for me, I look at the entire totality of all things, and to hold Joe Mixon, you know what I mean, the way they did. They're growing, man. They're growing in the areas that we had major concerns about last year. Unfortunately, and we're gonna get to it. I'm saying our 2 top guys in the secondary banged up. You know what I mean? And we gotta rely on these younger guys.
2 of our top 3, Javon Holland over Byron Jones. Thank you very much. And I'll tell you why I feel that way, because I feel a way right now, bro.
Okay.
Listen, you remember the whole J.C. Jackson thing? You remember that all, right? How the plan, and it's funny. People said, "Well, how would we have fit Tyreek and Armstead? How would that have happened?" Reason? Have y'all not looked at our cap space over the last couple of months? We've been flirting with over $20 million this year. That's J.C. Jackson money right there, and Byron would have been off the books. Anyways, when it happened, we called the ball game. It was clear this guy was in business for himself. He got the surgery to make sure he lasted here. And we're going to get into this, right? Let's get into it right now.
Let's do it.
Because, guys, I'm pissed because I saw this coming from my mom. I've been saying this guy's not going to be ready by week 4.
That's true.
They've given us no signs. There's been no serious, bike work even on the sidelines. We haven't even seen him on the bike consistently. And apparently he had one of those not those leg compressions, but it looks like one leg has a little apathy in terms of it's not as strong as the other leg because it was an Achilles injury, right?
Atrophy.
That's it. Sorry, apathy. Who am I? What an idiot.
That sucks, bro, because that's
not major, but it's a little noticeable that one leg is.
Well, that's enough. That's enough to slow you down, because then at that point you kind of dead legging, especially once the leg gets tired and he's not in any kind of a football shape. You know what I mean? If the push off and if there's no
they said he's not even ready to start, because you come off pop and you go into that 21-day window where you got to practice, right? Or they put you on IR. He's not even ready for that 21-day window. They said.
Damn. Yeah,
this don't feel like it's going to be till mid-season we see this guy.
Well,
shout out to Kadir Kahu for holding it down, Darth Cater,
and hope Nick Needham can continue to.
And Keon Crossan. People sleep on Keon Crossan. Keon Crossan had some good reps, man. Now, the big question is going to be is if Xavier Howard isn't out because he didn't practice today. Now, we know that's the first injury report of the week. So, guys who don't practice, you don't worry about do not practice till Friday. Really, right?
Right.
And That's why I do my preview shows on Friday, because that's when you get your final injury report. And you have a good grasp of who's going and who's not.
Right.
But let's talk about Byron right now. Like, what? Let's start with you, BallGame, because secondary is your specialty. Like, I mean, you raised boys in the secondary, literally your own and other people's.
Yep.
What are your thoughts? This clearly in business for himself, clearly smart guy playing the game. He's not letting the game play him. I ain't get your bag, young man. I ain't gonna knock you for getting your bag. But like, doesn't the competitor sit there and say, man, this team's 3-1. They're doing this without me. Man, I come back, this could be something special. Like, how are you feeling about this situation, BallGame?
I think that's the general way most players would feel. However, Byron, I think, is very well aware of also the fact that he was labeled the do boy for Flores as well. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to some degree, I mean, let's be clear. Let's put it all out here. It ain't like him and ex-buddies. You feel me?
Man.
And when he came in, he was an independent contractor then. And I think when he was looking at the situation of them possibly just saying, you know what, we're gonna be done with this dude. Oh, okay. Let me go ahead and get my injury fixed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get my money guaranteed, so I don't have to worry about this. Yeah, I do believe he took care of himself.
And now X is rocking the C, and it's his defense, literally.
Yeah. But what this, unfortunately, he does have us in a precarious situation though, because now you get to see really what his impact was on the opposite side of Xavier Howard, and that was pretty significant when you consider how much people are actually passing all over us now.
I always defended the guy. That's what I hate about this. I always defended him. He always took other teams' ones because they stuck to their sides. They did not rotate. He always got matched up with a lot of ones, and he always, like, I always defended this guy. And to see him doing this, bro, I honestly kind of feel hurt because I always defended him, man.
Yeah, my question now would be, where did the rehab go wrong, right? And what could have been different? Because
you know what someone said, BallGame? Maybe he's taking it easy so he knows, so every other team knows he's 100% by the end of the year. And I was like, well, because he knows we had him on the block, right?
Yeah.
And we know this is the year. This is also the financial year we can cut bait. So someone made the point, and it was just some random person I saw, and I was like, you know what? That's actually. And they said, hey, what if he just wants to make sure he's healthy by the end of the season, and every team knows it, so wherever he goes, he re-ups with the bag.
And if he's 100% healthy at the time when we were actually still peaking and getting ready to roll into the playoffs, then that just makes his value that much more important to whoever looking at him. I seriously doubt he'll be here with us. That's for sure. But man, it's a tough deal though, because I hate watching our guys go through what they've been going. Man, we've been kind of cut up over the last 2 games, bro. Like, we've been diced. Yeah,
but that was the hard. Like, until we get to the final 6. Quarterback wise, that was kind of your tough part.
Kind of the toughest part of the season. Yeah,
it's going to even out now in the middle. It should, other than maybe Kirk Cousins with a spike.
Yeah, well, no, he's always going to fight though. The problem is without a healthy X, man. I think we're gonna get a heavy dose of Jefferson and Thielen, bro.
That's what I'm saying. That might be your spike, but other than that, Zach Wilson, you know, who else? Kenny Pickett. Come on, son.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that.
We're going to destroy that guy in prime time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you look at the quarterbacks we have over the next, because remember, we had us coming out 4-2 after the Vikings game. I don't remember what you did, but I had us 9-2 heading into the last 6.
I was right there.
Yeah, we go on like I know we all had like this. All of us had like a 4, 5, 6 game winning streak, right?
The last six, I had us going 3-3.
Yeah, so did I. I had us ending up 12-5.
I think I had us dropping 1, just because the way the games fell. I felt like it was gonna be a complacency game that was gonna jump up in there and grab us. I can't remember which one it was, but I had 11 and 6. So we're right there in terms of still playoff eligible. I mean, because if you're watching the league now and looking around, nobody's really playing really, really good football but the Eagles, which is crazy. But that schedule's so soft, it don't matter.
I know, and that division's so soft. NFC least, bro.
Yeah.
It is though. Tell me, bro. Remember the Giants won a Super Bowl in that division, getting in 8-8. stop right now, bro.
Yeah.
Weren't they the first 8-8 team to ever win a Super Bowl or something like that? Come
I
on,
know
man.
what I do know for certain is that it's a freaking gauntlet over here on the AFC. While they got a cakewalk going on over there in the NFC.
Our division is tough right now.
It is definitely the most competitive division in football right now, for sure.
Yeah.
Any given Sunday.
Richmond, you
Yes, sir.
had a chance. I sent you over the film because there's been a lot of talk about Greg Little's play. I, for one, have said, that's what me and BallGame talked to about it. I mean, I have even, I've suggested on multiple platforms, whether it's been this show or my own on, just my own show, that Jackson at left guard when he comes back because of Eichenberg's lack of anchor and just his play and Greg Little's play. That's an intriguing option. Now, Greg Little's battling a hand injury, and he had a few snaps he didn't look too clean on. What were your thoughts on, because I sent you all the pass pro. I didn't send you run sets, but I sent you all the pass pro.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways from Greg Little from a pass pro standpoint against the Bengals? Now, I know he had that big bull rush against where Sam Hubbard put him on his ass. But overall, you saw like 34 reps. What was your overall take on Greg Little and pass pro?
Yeah, yeah, I watched it, and the biggest standout was his pass set and kick. As far as getting depth and stuff, that was okay. But it made sense when she told me he had a hand injury. But basically, he was allowing the guy to get to his chest. The defender was able to get his hands inside on his chest, and if somebody could do that, they got more leverage and stuff than you do. And that's one of the first things I saw. So hopefully that hand is feeling better, but he's got to try to find a way to fix that, because people will watch film, and once they see you struggle with a certain move or whatever, not that they're going to do it every play, but they will set you up and saying, okay, this guy's having problems with the bull rush. If you can get your hands inside, he's struggling with that. So, it's just when you watch film, you look for anything to give you a little tip to say, okay. And even the scouting report sometimes will say this guy, like you said, Eichenberg is having an issue with the anchor, this and that. And those guys will set up, so okay, I'll rush, and then I'm gonna hit him with a bull rush or whatever like that. So that was the key thing. And kind of at the end, it was like a free for all, because they start running the stunts, and with the amount of time that was left on the clock, they knew we had to throw the football, so it was almost like just drawing little stunts in the sand and stuff like that. And if you start getting sloppy and don't pick those up, you're going to keep getting them. So, but the biggest thing I saw was him just allowing the defender to get his hands inside on his chest.
All right, keeping it rolling, boys. Is there anything to fear with the Jets defensively or offensively when you look at them when you head into this week? I mean, Jets fans are over the moon that this guy had a 13.4 quarterback rating heading into the fourth quarter, and Zach Wilson finally played a quarter of football at the NFL level, and everyone's like, oh, look out. Now I know we're banged. Let's start with you, BallGame, because I know we're banged up in the secondary a little bit right now. You look at our injury report all over on our defense right now. I mean, Keon Crossan did not practice today with a glute shoulder. X was out. Melvin Ingram, he just got vet rest. Jerome Baker was limited today. Brandon Jones was limited today. Zach Seiler was limited today. Defense banged up a little bit. Garrett Wilson starting to make plays for them. Elijah Moore's a bit of a beast. They got a decent O-line. Defensively, are you worried about anything offensively? Because I think we can all agree Zach Wilson's going to give us a couple extra drives with some turnovers at some point. Do you think this is a game where they should just shut him out?
Worried? No. I'm only concerned about the guy's mental state going into this game, because, I mean, they understand, truthfully, that they're supposed to go in and beat this team. But, these injuries, whether they're nagging ones or they're consistent ones, can take a toll on you. And if you can't get off, you can't perform to the level at which you want, you know, I mean, it mentally affects you to some degree. So I don't necessarily believe that the Jets have anything that they can do to really threaten us. I think the biggest threat is us, and him giving these guys these rests early in the week. You know what I mean? It's key, and I think it's very important because it also allows it. You know, it does two things. One, it says that coach cares, right? Because it's Wednesday, right? You've had all this other time, and then we still gonna allow you some time to rest up, right? Just come in, watch the film, let's talk over the theories, and and just be ready to play on Sunday. That that tells you that, listen, I believe you guys to be the professionals that you are. Let's just go out here on Sunday and execute. And if there's anything I need to know, just put it on the table so I know, so I can bring the next guy up. I don't think any of these guys at this point feel like they can't just be honest and open with their coaches and tell them exactly what's going on. So there shouldn't be anything that the Jets can do that's going to surprise us at this point, because they're not nearly as dynamic as either Baltimore or the Bills. And
or the Bengals.
All the Bengals. Yeah, we're banged up, but I don't have any faith. I don't have enough faith in Zach Wilson to really be overly concerned about what they can do. Garrett Wilson, you know what I'm saying, Mims, who else? Elijah Moore. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? You can go back and get Herman Moore and Chris Carter for all I care. At this point, you got Zach Wilson back there, so I'm not really concerned.
The only time Zach Wilson is ever going to score against this Dolphins defense is if our defenders put their moms in all their moms in a room, bro.
Or everybody just fall down at the same time and just say, "Okay, here's your freebie, bro."
Yeah. Kind of on the flip side, looking offensively, Richmond, Teddy, you're gonna have 10 days to game plan and install around his strengths and weaknesses for this game against the Jets. He's a vet. I mean, we all know he started, and before the injury in Minnesota, that guy's trajectory was looking all the way up. Do you think this is a case where, do you have full faith in Teddy with it? And this all, it comes down to our coaching staff too, right? This is how much do you believe our coaching staff is going to properly game plan and properly prepare our guy to take this game on? And I think, between play designs and play calling, that our play staff, offensively, our coaching staff has given us plenty of reason to have faith in them. What are your overall thoughts on, do you think we can beat the Jets with Teddy at the helm, given he's going to get 10 days of game playing and installing?
I do. Like you said, he's a veteran quarterback, and like you said, the way I think the good thing about Coach McDaniel is he doesn't just plug and play. He looks at what your strengths and weaknesses are and kind of caters the offense to that. So I'm sure it'll be plays that, he'll have in for Teddy that, maybe Tua doesn't fit Tua. So I think he takes all that into consideration. And the other thing I was thinking about is that if Teddy goes out and we perform offensively and we're still in rhythm, this and that sends a message to the league that, hey, not only do they got a really good starter, but they got a quality backup that if something happens, he can come in and take over and continue to run this offense with the weapons we have. So I think the way that everybody kind of comes together and surrounds and supports each other, I'm not really worried about it. The only way I'll be worried if we just came out and thought this was a given as far as games and then come out and prepare and hit the field like we're supposed to and go and take care of business. But I don't see that out of this team, so I'm not concerned. I think Teddy's going to play better than what people are expecting him to play. Like what we saw in the little highlights and stuff we saw in the Cincinnati game, I think we'll see a much more consistent, better operation, better performance from the offense. So I'm looking forward to it.
So let me ask you this, boys. Is he on a short leash for you guys? Like if you're down 14-3 to an inferior team like the Jets, is it Skyler time? Like Skyler's the limit? Because what you've seen, what he done in the preseason, and 4-1 is a whole hell of a lot different than 3-2. Let's all be honest with ourselves. And all of a sudden, you're feeling probably a little bit pressure for Tua to come back at 3-2 for the Vikings game than you are at 4-1 heading into it. Are you short leashing him? Like, well, like I know. No, you're rolling.
Roll with him.
I think you roll with him to an extent, but I think that would be more of. I think the practices and how he performs in practice this week. I'm sure the quarterback coach McDaniel, they're gonna be watching that. So if it really differs from what they've seen in practice or whatever, or if it's factors that cause him not to keep the thirds down going, whether it's penalties or whatever, I think all that'll be taken into consideration. But it's kind of like the Baltimore game. We didn't get rolling to the second half. Correct some things. So it's a lot of factors that could affect that. I'm hoping that we don't come out and the Jets are up 14-3 or whatever. But I'm sure Coach McDaniels and the offensive staff as a unit will be saying, okay, do we need to make the switch or whatever, this and that? And I think they will be evaluating that. But I think Teddy will be fine. So unless it's just something he's just really struggling with or whatever, then we might see the other quarterback.
Well, you got faith, ball game.
I do. I think if it was any other opponent, I wouldn't. But it's the Jets, and Teddy with 10 days can't get prepared with the weapons that he has at his disposal to be able to go out and execute a game plan that's going to be tailored for him to beat the Jets, then what's the point of even having him here? You know, and that'll be we'll be able to see that early. So if he's struggling first half, you give him a series after the second half starts, and you give him that first series. If he can't get it going, then then you pull him.
Yeah. That's what I meant.
Yeah, I'm on board with with giving him at least a half. And
that's what I consider a short leash. You know what I mean? Like,
so,
you're not going to yank him after one drive in the first quarter. You know what I mean? Like you're down 14-3. Your offense looks stagnant. You need a spark, and you're losing to an inferior team like the Jets.
Yeah.
Do you roll with Skylar? That's basically where I was coming from. All right. What are your guys? Now, like I kind of alluded to it a little bit. And we're entering kind of an easy part of the schedule. Now, we talked about Byron. He's not ready to even start practicing yet. Tagovailoa is out right now. I mean, it's the perfect time for the guys to get healthy. Mm-hmm. But this is also the perfect time where we keep talking about getting the run game going and, shoring up the offensive line and really getting it at a confidence level, even if Tua is out right now. Like, what do you look at this next stretch of games? Because, just so everyone knows, right, what I'm talking about, right? We're talking about week 5. Obviously this week we have the Jets. Then we have the Vikings. Then we have the Steelers. Then we have the Lions. Then we have Chicago. Then we have the Browns without Deshaun Watson, right? I believe. Then we have the bye week. Then we have the Houston Texans. So, that's a 7-game stretch where, man, 6-1 is, especially if Tua is healthy, that's very doable. Now, surprisingly, against the Lions, you're gonna have to put up points.
Right.
But what do you look at this next stretch of games for? Because I think that we are entering the easiest stretch of our schedule. Is this where you get the offensive line and the run game to a confidence level and a level of clicking like you haven't yet? Is this where you allow guys who are banged up to get healthy because it's not as pressing of a need because of our record heading into this 7-game stretch? How are you guys viewing this easy part of the schedule? Because we're at the quarter mark and we are now entering a 2-quarter easy stretch almost.
Yeah. For me, this is the sustainment phase, and there's a lot of things that need to happen in that. You haven't been as explosive in the run game as you wanted to. So this is a time where now you could put another install in that's going to focus more on possibly getting the ground game going and getting those guys more, more involved in the game. And then that would definitely open up your play action game a lot more. I think these games will give you an opportunity to tweak and really figure out exactly who you have. Also in places that you might find a guy might actually show up in these games and show you something that he hasn't shown you in practice, because in theory, you practice well, you play well, but you're gonna always play a little bit different. And the butterfly is gonna be a little bit different when it's somebody that you don't know. And that game matters. Practice is practice, but the games count for towards the W's and L's. And this is a really sustainment / evaluation period, I think, in terms of that stretch. And all of those are winnable games for us when you look at them. I don't see that being a really, really big challenge. I'm not afraid of Brissett, not afraid of Pickett, not afraid of any of those quarterbacks in that stretch. So you can do a lot of things, man. I mean, he's gonna have. That's probably the head scratcher for McDaniels is what do I focus on the most. But what your offense is really missing is that consistent 4.5, 5 yards of carry.
Yeah.
Now you got to figure out how to get it. So you can use this time now to get that dialed in and get those guys up front nastier and meaner. You know what I mean? Because they've shown flashes of it. They've shown flashes of blowing guys off. You know what I mean? And I think Robert Hunt needs a little bit of that. No, okay. Oh, whoa. Pause. Pause.
Woo!
But Robert Hunt's regressing, so you got to give him something. You got to give him something to get him excited. You feel me?
Yeah.
And you don't want guys to take steps back. You always want them to grow together forward. So in order to do that, you got to get this run game going because he's great. He's great in that in that phase as well as his pass pro is he's to me aside from Tehran, he's the next best guy. You feel me?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And he's young enough that he's going to have these unfortunate lows, but you got to feed him. You got to get him involved you got to give him things to keep him excited about it. You know what I mean? You got to pull him a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You got to go through the whole process of letting him tee off on guys. You know what I'm saying? Because if he's just pass setting all the time, then, that can get kind of redundant to him. You know what I mean? But let him go hunt a little bit after his namesake. You know what I'm saying? Let Hunt hunt. So,
love Robert Hunt. Richmond, what are your thoughts about easing Edge? Because I mean, if everyone was healthy, this is where we'd be sitting here saying, this is where Tua makes up his MVP candidacy right now on this stretch with these teams.
Yeah.
What are you looking for out of this stretch of the schedule?
Yeah, I've always and even when I play, we always approach them one game at a time. So this week will be the Jets. Next week will be Minnesota. Next week will be Pittsburgh. But sometimes I think when you start trying to look over a stretch of games as a player, you can lose focus and not really hone in on the things you really need to hone in. So if they continue to take them one game at a time and approach it, and they've shown that they can do this in a stretch like this because they've shown the last couple of years where, we won like 7 games in a row or whatever. So that's not really my concern. Kind of like, I know BallGame and you with the offensive line, like I said, after about 6 games, they should be then came together in jail. And the passing game is there, but work really more consistent on getting that running game going. And then you really control the time of possession, this and that. And it keeps your defense off the field, but it also keeps those guys fresh. Like you said, a couple of guys, load management and this and that. I think even with Coach McDaniel, he's like, yeah, I'm going to give some of these guys a couple of days off because the last 2 games with the time of possession, the Heat, and then playing Cincinnati 93 play, that's a lot. So it gives guys a chance to get their legs back on it. But as long as they continue to work on being consistent, efficient, and just focus on what they got to do and take it one game at a time, I think we're going to be fine. But I agree, out of the next 7 games, if we take them one at a time, 6-1 should be doable. As long as we keep everybody healthy and just keep everything flowing and stay in a rhythm like we are.
Question.
Go ahead.
When is Austin Jackson slated to be back?
They haven't given an indication, but they put him on IR, right? So he's eligible to come back. What after
weeks?
After when did they put him on? After week 2, so week 6. I don't know.
Week 6. Okay.
Why? Why? What are you worried about?
No. I'm just wondering because, what Liam needs, he's not gonna find right now. Right, it's gonna take him a season or 2 to get. He's in the same boat that Jackson was in. Just didn't have the grown man strength He didn't have the functional strength yet. His body hasn't. His body that package hasn't arrived yet. So I'm thinking if he's ready to go, plug him in and get Austin up to speed in that spot. And that may very well be the top 5 guys that we can feature out there, and then let those guys go out and eat together, man. Because I think that will be an amazing group when you factor in Jackson is inside of Connor Williams, and you know what I mean, he's stuck, and then Hunt on the opposite side of Williams with Little, who is nobody really thought was going to give you this what he's giving you, but man,
So, final thoughts, guys, before we head into the Jets game, as well as your prediction for the Jets, and also I want to ask you this in your final thoughts. Did Joe Burrow open up a can of worms today when he said that he's been hit and forgot the rest of the game before, and it's happened a couple of times? He basically, he said a lot of stuff that really, he said he sometimes he didn't remember the second half or remember the entire game, and got a little dizzy at one point in some games. Your overall thoughts on that? Did Joe Burrow open up a can of worms because of all this Tua stuff going on? And then I want your predictions for the Jets and Dolphins. Go ahead, Richmond.
I think what Joe Burrow did is, I mean, he kind of told the truth just based on his experience. But I think even with what happened or transpired on Thursday night with Tua, these doctors are going to make sure that nobody's going to, they're going to err on the side of caution, I think, more now than they were before. So if they're not sure that a guy possibly could come back or it's not a concussion, they're going to put you down before they just let you back out there, especially if you're a quarterback or guy that's, offense that's taking hits or something like that. But so Joe Burrow gets hit, he definitely going to get he's definitely going to get examined, and they're going to be like, man, we need to keep this guy out because he's already talked about it. And that just gives the analysts and the sports, the sports shows and stuff more to talk about for him coming out saying it now, and with player safety and stuff like that now. Roger Goodell and staff, they want to make sure, because they're going to protect their investment, and they're going to make sure that they're making sure that they're doing everything to try to show that they're concerned about player safety. So he definitely added a little gasoline on the fire when he put that out there. I'm sure they probably cringed when he was that honest and open about, his own experience and stuff like that. So I think that, if you get a concussion, you're probably not coming back. Or if they think it's a concussion, you're not coming back in the game. And they're going to really evaluate you and make sure. So you may miss an additional game just based off some of the stuff that's been said. And then once it kind of cools down, they might, just go back to just normal operation. But that's just my feeling on it. So you get a concussion this week, you're probably going to be out for at least 2 weeks. That's just my take on it, because everything is too fresh right now. Far as the game, I'm picking the Dolphins, and I'm going to go 24-13, something like that. I think the Dolphins win this one, and we come out with another W. We're 4-1 and getting ready for Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with a guy telling his truth, and I think, Joe decided to do what he did because of who he is and the fact that he can do it. Quarterbacks get to say whatever they want. Ain't nobody gonna really go to checking Joe about what he can and can't say when you're the face of a franchise. And honesty is always gonna prove to be his best friend. So the end goal, I think, is always gonna be to ensure that these guys are looked after until they no longer are deemed, unfortunately, viable options or viable commodities anymore. We know that guys go into protocol, get hit. It's a violent game, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, I don't believe anybody's just maliciously out here just going to allow somebody to go back in the game and possibly ruin, lose their life. So I'm gonna leave that whole notion on the other side. I think him talking about it keeps the topic, you know what I'm saying, open and honest, and open, honest dialogue never hurts anyone. So I'll leave that there. But I do believe that this Sunday, I have us going 21-10. And I don't necessarily see much from the Jets offense that scares me. And I think that Teddy's and his offense, the pieces we still have in place, is still capable of 21 points. And the Jets are gonna look to run the ball. We've shown as of late that that's not something we're going to allow people to do.
Mhm.
So I think they're going to force Zach
To beat him.
To beat him, and
Yep.
I just don't think
That's
he
how you
has it.
beat the Jets.
Yeah. So I'm going 21-10 Dolphins.
All right.
So,
I think we're gonna win. I'll save my score prediction for Friday on Inside
Right.
the NFL. I think we're gonna win though. Gentlemen, absolute pleasure as always. Man, let's just pray Tua gets healthy, Tua gets better, and it's not even a matter. Just the sooner he's back and 100% healthy, the better overall it is for him, because the sooner they check him healthy, the sooner he can get his life right and back on track.
Right.
And however long that takes, just as long as he's 110% healthy when he hits that field again, man. That's all that matters, because I'm telling you, yeah, it's not worth killing yourself over this game, man, especially now that he's married and stuff like that. So, all right, guys. Anything else to add?
I'm good.
Hey, man, for those you clowns out there that want to go through this process of trying to tear down people's character and do all this other foolishness, if you ain't man enough to say it to a person's face and come meet them in a forum where you can talk about your issues, don't go running to somebody else to try to do your dirty work. That's clown behavior, and I'm going to always call it out. I don't like people coming for my boy. You know what I'm saying? And if y'all really want that smoke, you know where to find it. But I would suggest you stay in your lane and just let things be as they are. Don't be jealous and mad about the fact that my homeboy is successful in doing his thing, and y'all ain't did it in half of what he's done in the short amount of time he's been doing it. I said it, I mean it, and it ain't gonna ever change. So anybody looking for some smoke, you know where to find it at. Leave Reason alone. They ain't bothering nobody. He bringing all the value necessary to this community. And anybody thinking otherwise, you're just a plumb fool. I said it and I mean it.
Appreciate you, BallGame.
Indeed.
Love you, brother. All right, boys. On that note, we will see you guys back here next week on the Finish Line, and hopefully the Dolphins are back to their winning ways, and we can celebrate a W with Teddy and get ready for the Vikings. And until next time, everyone, hey, stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed. Enjoy each other, enjoy your loved ones, enjoy your friends, and everyone. Just be positive in such a negative time, from our team to all the nonsense going on. Appreciate all y'all. Fins up. We'll see y'all next week, guys.